Well, let's get going. Em's got me yawning already with her sympathetic yawns back there. So, oh, it's not fair. Okay, it's Friday. So, yeah. So this is the second week of Unit 4. So we'll be wrapping up this unit here. So we'll see how far we get today. I think we have 3 lessons left. I'm kind of doubtful we'll get through all 3 of them. So we might mark some of them as skippable here. We'll certainly start with this 4.8 real world models. And I'd like to get to 4.2 and talk about privacy there. So we'll see if we get to 4.9 here. We may end up skipping that today. So let's get started and look at 4.8 real world models. Because we get to watch Bill Nye the Science Guy, which makes every day a good day here. So one of the things we'll look at is, again, how we model the real world. And one of the things we're often looking at is what do we want to abstract away and what we want to know. What are the important facts there? My PhD was in neural networks and modeling, trying to do artificial intelligence with those. And one of the questions in that field is with neurons, where do you want to model them? How exact do you want? Because we know a lot about how the neurons in your brain work, how they send signals. They have these axons, they send electrical signals down these axons. There's these little gaps between neurons, these synapses, and they have different efficiencies there. And the electrical signals go and connect onto another neuron through these synapses. We know, a lot about that. We know that, when you learn that the efficiencies of the synapses get, when you do something over and over again, the efficiencies of these connections increase. So we often model we kind of keep track of each connection, how efficient each connection is between one neuron and the other, and then we can adjust that. And that's how artificial intelligence neural networks learn, is they adjust these weights, the efficiencies of these connections, because that's supposedly, how we're kind of modeling how the brain works. But we've looked at different models of neurons. The simplest one is that the neuron is either on or off. It's either firing or not firing. They're 0 or 1, and we certainly model some neurons that way. But actually, the neurons, they that's an abstraction, a model. They actually fire. They're always firing. They're always on, but they're just firing slowly. Every neuron is just firing slowly. And then if it gets enough signals, it gets excited and it fires fast there. And so part of another way to model it is just how much is it firing? Is it firing slow or fast? So we can model that between the number between 0 and 1. So rather than saying 0 or 1, we can say, oh, it's pretty active. It's like at a 0.8, or it's not very active. It's a 0.2. Its firing rate is very slow. So again, sometimes we'll model it as just, the average firing rate over time. But there are people who think that the firings themselves, the spiking neurons, are important to cognition and how the brain works. And so there are people who don't just say, okay, we're just going to model it as a number. We're actually going to model every spike and the actual voltage going up and down, and model every spike as it goes up and down, and do it at, very fine grained. So there are people who model these spiking neurons. You can read lots of papers on spiking neurons and models of spiking neurons and stuff. And there are people who think that is going to be important. It takes a lot of computing to model at that level. So the question is it worth it there? Now, there are people, I read a paper from IBM who was actually going in deeper. If you go in, I haven't taken, there's a neuroscience course here. Has anyone taken the I think there's a neuroscience course still here. But if you take that, I assume you'll learn that the neuron, inside the neuron, there's actually different electrical channels, chemical channels inside each neuron. There are like 7 different neuron channels. like a sodium channel, and there's different chemical channels that channel electricity. So there's like, I think 7 different chemical channels in each neuron that for electrical signals. And so IBM was trying to model each neuron and all 7 electrical channels in each neuron to try to get that. And so the question is, which of those, how far, what do we need to model to get artificial intelligence or make a smart machine? Which of that, at what level can we capture how the brain works? And people just don't know that right now, most AI is using just saying each neuron is just an activation between 0 and 1 there. And that's enough to do what we're doing now. So similar, like another way we can look at it is like if we're trying to model the solar system, how does that work for that? So I want to play, I have to just play part of Bill Nye. That's okay. You're missing Bill Nye. And it's got, you gotta love Bill Nye. I don't know if maybe you did not see enough Bill Nye growing up as a kid, but yeah, so. It's the beginning of it. Yes. Very large. Those planets, those metals are the edge of the side. And the sun's still back there. You're stupid. 520 meters from the sun. That's over half a kilometer. So again, we've all seen these pictures of the solar system as just circles with planets around it, and that's a common model. But again, what does that represent? And again, he's talking here that it doesn't represent the actual size of things, the distance between things or stuff like that. It often even doesn't even often represent the relative size of things, but it does show that things go around in a circle, which is useful. So there are different ways of modeling the solar system here in different areas. So we're going to look at another model. And we talked briefly the other day about the model of population on Isle Royal. There's an ongoing study of the wolf and moose population on Isle Royal that they've been tracking there because there's a great population of this population models have been going on for a long time. So again, we're in, where am I? 4.7. Go down to the focal activity, 4.8. Thanks. 4.8. Go down to focal activity, and we're going to do the rabbit and wolf simulation, and we're going to break you into groups here. So let's see, how many people do we have here? So let's do groups maybe of 3s. One short. We're gonna have to have a group of 4.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Now you know I have green, but it's not, you don't go green or not. Ooh. Okay, get together. Pull up at least one example of the wolf and rabbit wolf simulation and do that.
Or friend here, hi. I'm Adam, your name? Nice to meet you. Hi, Laura. Kelsey, sorry. No violence. Yeah, I think you have to log in and then the whole reward. What are you looking for? 4.8. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really nice place.
Well, I feel like
Like, well, there are a lot more money than them.
I know, it's pretty expensive.
But.
Still well.
So again, just go through the pogo thing. You want the simulation here. You can start it. The rabbits will eat the grass. The wolves will eat the rabbits as we go. And you can increase the speed if you want, which helps there. And you can see how it works. You can also then play with the simulation. You can, yeah. Here, yeah, view, modify parameters. You can change some of the parameters if you want. So by doing this, view, modify parameters. Okay, then just go through the questions. Online people or people aren't here, you can just go through this on your own. It's not too bad. So you can bring up population graphs if you don't have them. It kind of shows the graphs as you go. So it's nice to see it visually, but the graphs are also helpful if you show or hide the population graph. That's sometimes nice. You might be wondering what do you get from a simulation like this? And I just like to point out, I live in town here, but even in town here we have I have a lot of rabbits, but also squirrels and chipmunks in our yard. And we have two foxes that are usually around and a coyote. And they usually keep things pretty well in check. But in the last year, we haven't seen the foxes or the coyote much in the last 9 months there. So our population this summer, our population of rabbits really kicked up there. And and chipmunks, we have lots of chipmunks too. So we're hoping we can get the foxes or a coyote or something can move back into our neighborhood this winter to bring this down again, because you can kind of see how this goes up. As soon as once the predators disappear, we get a lot more of the prey, these rabbits and stuff popping up. And then they eat everything. So that's not good either. So
I did that.
3 years ago, we had a little bobcat in our yard all for the winter, for about 3 months of the winter. And that was really fun to see. Okay. Okay, hopefully you can do your reflections for this unit. We're gonna skip 4.9, which is actually optional. That's just talking about the CPU and how the CPU works there. With this fetch execute cycle for this. I think it's useful. I also cover this in the 2011 class. We'll cover this. And I'm not going to have you do the reflections on this, but I'm just going to show you the simulation real quick in case you want to go through this yourself. This is a link to a simulator for a simple CPU here. It talks about having instructions and coding this in instructions there. And we can then put in different commands into this stuff, load in certain commands and stuff like that. And in order to do that, we'd have to program it all in binary here. Then there's another generation of this where we can program it in machine language a little bit better. And so our code looks something like this. I think I can take that and just paste it in here. And load it up. And it'll load up our instructions and our data all in binary format here. And then we can walk through this, and what the computer will do is it'll do this fetch execute cycle. It'll have what is called an instruction pointer here, which will say which instruction to get, and it's pointing to 0, 0, 0, 0 here, which will be this instruction. So fetch will get that instruction here, and we'll break that instruction down in what it's going to do. So it'll be broken down into parts here, and we'll execute that instruction, and it'll load in some values. Well, then it increments the counter here. We can fetch the next instruction and execute it, fetch the next instruction and execute it. And we can walk through these instructions on the computer for that. The next generation of ones is very similar, but we have machine language, not just, assembly language. We have these commands that are kind of like English: add and subtract and multiply, load, load register A, load or store register A, and things like that for this. And we can have our programs that'll work with that here. So again, we're not going to cover that, but if you want, the videos are interesting to watch, and if you're interested in that sort of model, those are fun to watch and code. And again, it's good because if you go on to computing, we do use those in the 2011 computer architecture class again. So, okay, so I'm going to leave those alone, and we're going to go on to 4.10. So we haven't talked, I've been kind of skipping the blown to bits and some of this stuff. We just haven't been getting to them in some of the chapters, but I think this one is quite important. We're going to look at data and privacy here and talk about how this works. Let's just bring up this worksheet here. Let's do this kind of as a class, I think. So we're going to try to classify some data, look at some computing innovations and see and kind of talk about what data it might use in different ways. So we start by talking about our GPS system. So again, anytime you bring up your phone and use Google Maps or anything like that, anytime you do a trail mapper or something like that, you're using GPS. Your car has a GPS in it that maps it. So what data is used by the GPS system here? And is it input or output to the system for it? So again, when you bring up your map, it knows where you are. So what it actually gets is your latitude and longitude there. So it is collecting your your latitude and longitude. And I would say that is maybe output. It's kind of weird because it's coming from the satellites. The satellite are sending signals down in your computer, but then it's for output, it's showing you on the map your location for that there. How about smart glasses? Has anyone seen any reviews of any of the new smart glasses that are getting out here for that? Anyone watched any of those reviews? So these are these. What is the new ones? Is it Ray-Ban?
Yeah, I think we're getting to the side project. Be base 40.
We're here at next 2025, and I just got some hands-on time with the Meta revamp display. Now, what are the Meta revamp display?
Yeah, what are they?
Smart glass, snack, opera display, and one of the lenses. This is basically what we've been waiting for smart glasses for, I don't know, the cool last drop.
I have Google Glass up in my office. If anyone, I should have brought that down. It doesn't work anymore, but I have the original Google Glass up there.
Right. It gets up to 5,000 nits. It is full color. One of the things that was really surprising to me is that I tested every other smart glass market right now. You can usually tell how there's a display when someone's moving their head or the light hits it just right. You genuinely cannot with this. I had my colleague Jay in the demo with me. We were staring at each other. He could not tell that there was a display. I was looking at those. He could tell I was not fully present and looking at the display. So we'll see what that does to society. But when you step outside, you can see the display even in direct bright lighting. Part of that is because there were transition lenses. That means so you go outside, the lenses change, and the brightness will also adjust so they can see it. I see it.
You see how it transition.
Yeah. But I can see the display outside. And now, did I look directly at the sun? Yes. Do I ever look at it?
Gotta love YouTubers who are willing to sacrifice themselves for us. Thank you for that. Saved me from having to look at the sun just to see what was going to happen.
Yeah. You might have to stay on or not. Yes. No. It's not. And it is. You know, the other thing about adding play is that they also added a little wristband. So the cool thing about having a little wristband is that it lets you silently navigate through menus and select options. So there's no more screaming in order to control the AI. So you can pinch once with your next finger to select, pinch with your little finger to go back. Twice will bring up the menu or make it go away, and then you can also swipe the screen, but literally the keypad, so you can go this way, up, down. How many quicker stuff we that AI and you don't just like go out with this like you're having a game controller in your cat. You can actually drop it by your side and do it very straight and like that. That would get something pretty cool. And this will be available at launch, but something I also have.
Okay. If you're interested, you should watch that. So smart glasses, she didn't get to the point where they do, of course, smart glasses always have a camera in them, so you can take pictures. You can just do your thing and they can snap pictures like a phone, of course. So data use, data type, what do you think? So the worksheet's right here, but I was going to just do it as a class. So yeah, it's right. This is the classifying data worksheet for this. So I would say smart glasses, maybe they do photos there and hand gestures. As both of those I would say are maybe input. Let's do a couple more. Let's do social media there. So pick your favorite social media app. What is it getting as far as input and output or data from you for this?
Stuff like that.
Yeah, but maybe not. How are you controlling the social media? Are you typing?
No.
Are you swiping? And so what is social media? So keeping track of there. So like if you're on YouTube, it's keeping track of, like I just watched a video, I clicked on it, I skipped over a section, I paused, So it's keeping track of all my interactions with that video there. When you're right, you're on TikTok, you are swiping to get to the next video, right? Or you are pausing, you're turning volume, you're commenting, all that stuff, right? On there. And then, and then it, depending on what you listen, what you watch, and how you interact with stuff, it'll feed you more, the algorithms will feed you more of that content, right? There. So you can control, well, you can have some, you can't really control, but you can have some influence on what content you see by how you interact with certain videos, right? Or certain, content, right? So it is watching so social media is doing any sort of, I'm just maybe going interactions. So again, swipes, likes, comments. That's why, everyone, there's always, the content creators always asking you, to do any of those things here. And that would be maybe your input. Okay. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out how much of this, we don't have that much time today, how much you have to do for your reflections here. So, I thought that was it. So yeah, I don't even think we need to do that for this, for your reflections. Good. So again, you can look at this and, it is important to look at the different software you use and what data you get from it. One of the questions I don't like is social media app is always wanting access to my contacts, to my emails, to my profile and stuff like that. So why are they wanting access to my contacts? Why are they wanting access to my phone contacts or stuff like that? There, you should be asking yourself if they're asking for that, they're probably not asking to make your life easier. They probably want it for a certain reason for this. So, I'm just going to maybe focus on this reflection stuff a little bit more. So how have social media platforms like, X and Instagram, Snapchat. Oh, I remember using Snapchat at some point. Yeah, that was a long time ago, I thought. Do you guys you guys ever use Snapchat? Did you grew up with Snapchat at some point in your life, right? I mean, maybe you still use it. Is it still out there?
Yeah.
Okay. I just downloaded WhatsApp because I'm starting to communicate to people in Europe suddenly, and it's just easier to use that. So, okay. So what have these social media platforms, how have they affected your privacy there? So what do they know? What do companies know about you from your social media? What are they able to predict?
Well, your location, but also the algorithms that build, they kind of know what you last.
Yeah. So what your interests are?
Yeah.
So can they tell what products you like? Can they tell what your political position is? Yeah. What else can they tell?
But I was gonna be about that, I'll figure out the baby videos and people found out.
That's, and that's the classic example of, computers predicting is when you go to Target, you buy something, or you go to Walgreens and they print out they used to do more, but you print off a coupon and you get the diaper coupon, and you go, yes, that is the classic when they predict, start giving you diaper coupons when when no one else knows you're pregnant. It's up to you. Right. So, and the algorithm. of course. So, yeah. So what else do they know? Do they know your age? Do they know your gender? Here. Or can they predict it with pretty good accuracy for this? So, as an old white man, social media certainly knows my age. I mean, I don't, unless you get AARP ads on your social media, maybe AARP is a big TikTok advertiser. But I'm guessing you don't get those on your social media feeds, right? So, right. So again, do they know your gender orientation? Can these apps figure all this stuff out from this? And how do they figure this stuff out? So, do you maintain different personalities on different apps? Or do you have different accounts? So like I run two TikTok accounts. I run on my phone and one on my tablet, and I try to keep them a little separate to see what ads, how they're different there. So have you ever, does anyone else run separate accounts? You should try that sometime. Try to set up a different account and see what you see differently on the different accounts sometimes. So, okay. Is it possible to identify someone, perhaps a patient? So let's say we knew some of it. Let's say we just had, someone posted to social media something about someone's gender, birth date, and zip code. Can we figure out who they are here? So who's the social media person who figures out where your location is?
I don't think.
Yeah.
Do we put a game to where?
No, there's someone on YouTube and on all the social medias that'll identify where you are. You send them a video of any location. Often it's just a party lot of stuff, and then he'll try to figure out where you are based on that video. I'll have to find that and show that to you. Okay. So if you just know someone's gender, birth date, and zip code, can you identify someone? So there's that specific enough to do that.
I think it is at least up to the point where there's only a few people remaining, then you can pinpoint it from there.
Yeah, you could at least get it down there, but there's going to be birthday is just 1 in 360. Things. So there you need, it's there if you have like 3,000 people, you're down to about 10 people with a birth date, right?
Gender gets rid of half of that.
Gender gets through with the half of that. So again, zip code, you need a zip code, depends on the zip code there and how fine it is. But zip codes are usually a couple thousand people, there's 80,000 people in Duluth and there's 10 zip codes. So, maybe 8,000 per zip code. So there's still a fair amount of stuff there. But you could get the list down some there, especially if you knew something more about them there. I don't think you can get down there with just that. But if you knew they like to skate or they ate, or something more about them from social media or an article there. So that you should try this sometime. And again, not that we want to dox someone on social media, but if you see someone on social media and they're posting some information, something about themselves, how much can you figure out about them? Can you actually track that person down? Right.
And then you could find out who that person is based on.
Right. Yeah. So certainly if you're, there are lists like that of sex offenders and stuff that are published in maps like that there. Right. Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to let you, figure out some computer innovation to explore. Again, if you want to watch, there's so much new stuff out there with the smart glasses, the AI stuff and things like that. Feel free to do that. Let's see where, I remember what they did. So, yeah. And one of the things we want to look at is what kind of privacy stuff. One of the things that really killed Google Glass when it first came out is they wanted to put in Google Glass as you walked around, it would just pop up each person's name as you saw them, and they'd have a database of everyone's name in the world so that you could see it, or at least, or everyone in your contacts there. And people were so upset about the privacy. But to tell you the truth, I'm not good at recognizing faces. I'm quasi face blind. It would be really helpful to me to have some glasses on that would just pop up people's names as I'm going around and stuff like that. I would really love that. But again, there's privacy concerns with that sort of stuff. But I would vote for that. But again, would I be willing to give up my privacy for that? But I would, because I don't, I wouldn't mind people knowing my name as I'm walking around. At least, or the question is maybe if it's in my contacts or something like that, not everyone. So, the next couple questions talk about this Blown to Bits article, and this is this book. We haven't dealt too much with it, but there's different chapters in it. This chapter is actually, I mean, somewhat out of date, but it is actually quite good. Talks about privacy here, and what we've given up for our privacy here. It talks about the Privacy Act here. And the Privacy Act is really old and hasn't been updated for many years. So today with social media, that sort of stuff, the Privacy Act just really doesn't apply much to a lot of the stuff that we're doing today. So, and here's the question. So number 6 is, what are you willing to trade for your privacy there? Like, do you like the personalized recommendations for things to buy at Amazon or at Target, or even on, the ads? All these social media ones are targeting you with ads. Do you opt, and usually you can opt out of those personalized ones. Do you opt out of those or not? You like the personalized ads? So how about you? Do anyone opt out of those? So I'm willing to trade that too. They can see what I like and they can recommend stuff for me. Although sometimes I do kind of play with them, and if they get a little, if I need a little uplift, I'll do some searches for something fun so that I can often it's travel. I'll just say, I'm thinking I want to travel someplace and I'm not going to travel there. But I'll just say, I'll just do some searches or watch some videos for that so that I can see some, cruise, videos or ads for a while rather than AARP ads out there. So, what else are you willing to trade for your privacy? Do you let them see your contacts?
Depends on what I get out of it.
Yeah, what do you get out of it? So,
I mean, if it's for like an app, no.
okay.
But if they're like, oh, you're setting up a computer, this has to happen, otherwise
Right.
it won't work.
Okay. So yeah. When do you mind? Like, let's say you're doing an app. Do you let TikTok or I was just installing WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is all phone based, and they're asking you to grab all my phone contacts. And I stopped there, and now I have to decide. I still haven't decided. It's been 2 days. I have to decide whether I want to go back and let them do that or not. And I'm leaning towards not, and just typing in contacts I want them to have. But I don't know. Are they going to then contact everyone on my contact list with an ad for WhatsApp? I don't think so. So what? No, they're not going to do that. Are they just going to have that in there? So when I type in something, they'll know who that is.
It just kind of transfers your contact list from your phone app to.
Right. Yeah. And then, but are they doing anything with that?
I know.
Yeah.
They'll probably notify
other people in your contacts who are already on it that you have just joined?
Yeah, so maybe there are people who are already on WhatsApp, and then they'll now know that I'm on WhatsApp there. And there's certainly people in my contacts list I don't want to talk to on WhatsApp. For that. So everyone has people on their contacts list that you don't want to talk to, right? I mean, so if you don't, give yourself a few years. So yeah, what are you willing to trade for your privacy there and convenience for that? So yeah, so it's interesting. What do you think you've given up too much privacy? Are you worried about privacy? No, that's typical with people these days is you're willing to trade privacy. We're willing to trade privacy for convenience. So how about EU people over there? Because EU has much better privacy protections than the US. Have you noticed anything coming to the US? Don't mean to pick on EU people, but
Oh, more so just personalized ads.
yeah.
I don't know, like the Apple, they launched like an AI project and it's not allowed, because it's,
Too invasive.
yeah.
Yes, right. So yeah, that's what they're talking about is this whole trade. EU has really good privacy protections and rules, but it also then there are times where you can't, because of that, you don't get access to certain features in products and stuff like that.
Also, I like the fact that you're not allowed to sell customer information or
Right.
anything like that, where I feel like there
Yeah.
happens more often than not.
Yeah. I think in the US, we don't know what cookies are and how browsers and apps follow you around with cookies and how if you go to one website, it'll put a cookie on your web browser so that other websites or in other places, they can check those cookies and see who you are and stuff like that. And in the EU, well, it's getting better. It's kind of interesting because EU passed a law that every website had to pop up a thing and ask you what level of cookies you have. And it was only at certain when you were in the EU, but now I'm seeing it. I think a lot of times in worldwide now, when you go to a website, it often has that cookie. You can opt in and out of cookies on that website, which I found useful. You should watch a video on cookie. Well, don't watch the scary ones. The scary ones are too extreme. They don't follow you like that. They're not able to follow you everywhere. But yeah, websites can put cookies on your web browser and track you pretty well. That's how, like, if you do a search in one area, Google will know it and play you a YouTube video in another that matches your Amazon search or something like that. So, well, one of the ways they help do that sort of stuff. So yeah. Okay. Well, have a good weekend. So, yep. See you. Reflections are all due on Sunday.